Good evening, my name is Bhavik Rughani, and it's been a long evening. I'm the last presenter, so thanks for being this patient. My topic for today is Kalshi again. How many of you all can tell me how many tweets will Elon Musk make in a week? Where will Taylor Swift get married? I don't think we can answer that question. But there are 15 million users on Kalshi who think they can answer this question. And the thing is that 23% of users say that they are in financial hardship due to using Kalshi. 37% of Gen Z says that they are addicted to the platform. And the friction to using the platform has only been decreasing. It's being easier to make your trades, to place bets. Now that's a dire situation. Kalshi says that they are regulated by the CFTC, which also governs the futures options that are being traded on the markets. So I wanted to find out two things in my project. The first one is to see how Kalshi works, to see who trades on them, and how much of Kalshi is gambling, and how much of it is an actual financial instrument. Before I tell you about my second part of my project, I'd like to show you all my dashboard. So you enter the ticker which you get from Kalshi. The speaker is a bit mellow. You get all the details that you need. You get all the data that I have analyzed. I'll explain it later. Then you go to plots. These are static for now, unfortunately, but I hope to make them more dynamic going forward. And lastly are summaries for the users. Not everyone who trades on Kalshi can understand all the fancy numbers which have been calculated. And there's also a fine, I'll show it here later. The song was The Gambler from Kenny Rogers. And there's a reason why I have used this song. The second part of my analysis is the finance student within me. Is there an edge that we can actually find out on these platforms? Is there some science to it, some numbers which I or many other finance professionals who want to trade on these platforms can actually find out and exploit them going forward? Because, as Mr. Rogers said, if you're going to play the game, learn to play it right. So the first thing that I analyzed is who is trading on Kalshi and who is making the money. So if you see, there is a fun trend over here. The total number of trades which were made for yes, either buy or sell, were 46 million, and for no it was 20 million. The profits and loss for both these traders are broadly the same. Now I think it's easier for the people to bet on something that they see happening than not see happening, because the data is almost half of both. Something else that I did is I segregated the users into two categories. We have the top 10 and the lowest 10. These were based on the trade sizes that they built. And something interesting that I saw was that the bottom 10 had a high accuracy rate in almost all the categories. And these categories were sorted based on the suffix, on the prefix that each ticker has. They are common for all the different categories on Kalshi, so that's how my Python code was segregating the categories. And if you see, the losses for the bottom 10 are 130,000. But for the top 10, $73 million. And seeing these two, you might think that, okay, the bottom 10 aren't too far off. They're actually doing well. Kalshi has been accused of supporting insider trading. You'll have seen the news, so I won't give the incidences. But this is where it comes down to. If you'll see over here, the average success rate, the top 10 users make a loss, but their losses are 2 cents lesser. These contests are treated between 0 to 1, so 2 cents is a good number, and the edges aren't too big. So 2 cents lesser than the bottom 10 users, and if you see the number of trades, if you see that the mean for all these categories is less than the median, and if you see the P99, that is the trades that are made by the top 1% users, they are much larger than the mean itself. So the top 1% users are making the curve askew. They are making the right side tail longer. The next thing is how likely likely are the markets to go wrong? If people are gambling, then they should not be really accurate, right? So for this, I have used two numbers, two values, let's say. First is the Brier score and the second is the log loss. They both do two things. The same thing, sorry. They try to figure out if the implied price at which you bought the trade, the implied price is between 0 and 1. If it says that a 75% chance an event will happen, the price you pay is 75 cents and you make 25 cents at the end, if the event happens. So Brier score and the log loss, they try to figure out if the price at which you bought is actually tallying up with the actual event, and how accurate are your forecasts. What the log loss does differently is it penalizes overconfidence. So if you had a 90% surety that a trade would be yes and it is not yes, you would have a higher log loss score. So in here, the lower the score, it is better. These are the formulas, they are quite standard. Here are the numbers. Sports is terrible. And when you'll see in the news that the exit polls on Kalshi are better than the news, that kind of lives up. If you see the elections in New York, and also the fourth category is elections. So the Brier scores and the log loss scores for them are much lesser than the other categories, which is where Taylor Swift will get married. By how much do the markets go wrong? Now we figured out that whether or not the markets are accurate, by how much are they wrong or accurate? So over here, I use a simple method that is the edge. It is an average of the number of times in each category that we had a yes as an outcome compared to the price at which you bought it. If there are 75% average yeses, you bought it at 45, that is the edge that you're looking at. All of these markets that were studied, they have already been closed, so there's no live trading happening on them. And if the edge is more than 0, the price of yes is underpriced, and if it's less than 0, it is overpriced. Here's the data for that. So I'm a bit short on time, so I'll move to the dashboard. You enter the ticker over there, you get all the details. This is something I wish to add in the future, an AI chatbot you can talk to. These are the data points, you have your plots. Here's the analogy that I wanted to give the user for them to understand the things better. My tech stack is basically this. Kalshi has an open API, you can access data from them. I use Python to do that. I downloaded them in Parquet files. I used Python and Pandas to make my analysis. They were stored in CSV. The plots that you saw, they were PNG files. These were JSON files, which has the data for each category and the tiers for the Brier scores. And the API, that is the backend, was running on Fast API. The front end was used by HTML to give it structure, CSS to give it the beauty, and JavaScript to give it some brains. And the final thing, Kalshi probably is not a casino. You aren't betting against the house. But they take the spread on your trade. So your loss is not their gain, but your addiction surely is their gain. Thank you. That's all from my side.
Questions from the panel?
I guess to ask a funny question, were there any outliers that surprised you in this analysis?
So they were tough to find out. So in my categories, I had an other, which I couldn't put into any categories. So all the weird and the funny ones would have been over there. So I got just the boring elections and sport ones.
Now we can open it up to the audience. Any audience questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.